Right, so for the second time in the competition, or for the third time in the competition, South Africa entered a penalty shootout, but they come out successfully on the right side on 2 occasions. Ronwen Williams, again, penalty saving antics. He saved 2 and essentially helped South Africa pick up another AFCON bronze medal, their first one since the year 2000, when Ghana and Nigeria co-hosted. Thoughts on the game before we get into all other things? Let me start off with you.
Well, off air we were discussing this. I am of the view that this whole third and fourth place needs to be scrapped. I'm too heartbroken to be watching third and fourth games. I mean, you remember the consecutive times Ghana was making it to the semi-finals, and you get there in 2012. I think 2013. I mean, you just 2017. I mean, you get to these points and you ask yourself, what's in it? You don't know how to even pick yourself up to go into such a game. That's why we see games like that. Because if you watch the game, it gets to a point where these teams are like, what is this? It gets to a point where they pick up, where you see, oh, okay, let's do something. Yeah. Maybe we may get something out of this. We may get a medal out of it.
Because of the fear of the penalty shootout. Yeah. Because you probably may have lost in the semis via shootout. And there's no extra time.
That's it. You just go straight into it. And some of the chances the Congolese miss is mind-boggling. I mean, how do you miss those chances? It tells you the level of seriousness attached to it by both teams. When it got to the crunch moment where they feel, okay, there's going to be a decider, you could just see their faces during the penalty shootout, and they felt that, okay, let's give it one more shot. Let's not go home. Let's go home with something, like a bronze medal, a medal to show that we were also present at the tournament and all of that. There's a reason why the Europeans have scrapped it. I subscribe.
I totally disagree.
I know, but I subscribe to it. I subscribe to it because it's heartbreaking. Semi-finals are heartbreaking. I am close to the final.
I think it offers teams another opportunity to at least walk away with something. And for records keeping, at least we know who officially finishes third.
No, I recognize who even finishes second. It's the champions that we always remember. So it tells you the level of seriousness attached to the game up until a point where they feel that, okay, this is business. Let's get something out of it. Okay. The South Africans dominated the first half, as you'd expect, created a few chances. The second half, the Congolese took over, created a ton of chances. Where you'd expect them to bury it, unfortunately, they didn't bury. Look at the mistakes Ron Williams was doing in the game, losing balls, falling into Meshach earlier, and I mean, you should be burying those chances, and I wasn't surprised. So we treat the third and fourth as they want us to treat it, and they will pick it up like that. That's my thoughts, Nate.
Let's be honest, the game was a terrible game. It was a terrible game, but I do not think it's a reason for scrapping of the third and fourth place. The reasons why I believe the third and fourth place is a very important thing is, first of all, players, you take a medal home. You see, you go to the Olympics, you might not necessarily have the gold, but I think we are underestimating the importance of a medal or winning a medal. It's there for generations. It's there because you don't get a certificate of participation for being fourth. You get a medal. And yes, people say medals do not buy food, but at least they signify something. They signify that this day and age, we got a bronze medal for, and look at a country like South Africa. And that's why South Africa, I was shocked South Africa put up that performance because I felt it meant more to them because whenever they go into their history books, this is like the third time we've come this far, this is the third time we've come this far. You'd see when South Africa gets back to, when they get to for Oliver Tambo, when they get to the Oliver Tambo airport, how they will be received back because in as much as it sums up your tournament, this is a competition of 24 teams. And you came up third. I would always pick coming up third and coming up fourth. But secondly, the third and fourth place playoff gives you the opportunity to play players who didn't get the chance in the tournament. So you look at a team like Congo. Mpase didn't catch. My favorite guy, Mpase, he was not in that team. They gave the opportunity to people like Silas who normally didn't get the chance. And that's why I always love seeing a Malian team in the third and fourth place because you know the Malian teams are always going to show up. Those times Ghana didn't care. And
Yeah,
it
Malians
goes to a point,
cared,
Mali
yeah.
were always beating us every time because we really didn't care back. You see, that's the thinking is wrong because this is the time where, and I like Kwesi Appiah during those periods because that's when he started trying out Solomon Asante, the players he didn't get the start. I would have loved for Ghana to be in the third or fourth place, and then you give the likes of Richmond Lamptey the chance, you give the Nesniamas you were not given the opportunity there in the main playoffs. So I think that's very important. That's something that shouldn't be understated or overlooked. But thirdly, too, there are prize allocations for the third and fourth place. You take away something, and that's something which in and of itself should give you the morale for it. I've watched, so you take Germany 2006 World Cup. Germany were eliminated in the semi-finals by Italy. They went to the third and fourth place against Portugal. That's one tense game. And how the Germans took that match very personally because you cannot leave, juxtapose that to the 2014, how the Brazilians already couldn't even salvage themselves to pick themselves up. You could see the crowd still behind the team in the tail. So, yeah, I get why the Europeans have scrapped it off, but personally, in my opinion, this is where you should get free-flowing football that is not guarded by a lot of tacticals or things like this, where you should have people bringing out the flair. Normally, it should be an exciting game. If you watch that game, it was a terrible game, especially if you're a young attacker, because in the final third, both teams were horrendous. But if they were taking the opportunities, that would have been a very thrilling 3-3, 4-3 game, which we would have talked about. But because both teams were woeful in the final third, it became a very, very terrible game to watch.
Let's talk about the penalty shootout. South Africa's third in that competition. They beat Cape Verde, lost to Nigeria, and then they were coming back here. It looks like, well, I mean, after playing two, they didn't look too overawed by the occasion. But some of the decisions the players took, Mokwena, I felt so sad for him. His kick hit the post.
I saw a difference in approach from the South Africans this time around. They were not going the level the keepers could, have the ball. They were going extreme. So that was what Mokwena tried to do. That it hit the post and went out. Now, if you study all the other penalties they played, I think it was only Mokwena that missed this penalty. If you watch the other penalties they played, it was just extreme. Not so clearly, a lesson has been picked and something is being worked on. That don't pick your spot, but don't play to the level where the goalkeeper will be able to, because there were times where the goalkeeper for Congo dived to where the ball was, but still couldn't have a hand to it. It was rather the Congolese, Chancellor Mbemba and the Shark earlier,
I was
playing
surprised.
at that level. I mean, we've
but
criticized.
funny enough, once I saw that it was Mbemba who was about to take the last kick, I just had a funny feeling that the story was about to take a different direction.
So you see, that's what he said. And the Congolese goalkeeper got the direction more times than Rowan Williams did.
Yes.
But one thing you are certain about Rowan Williams is if he's getting the direction, there's a high probability because even in the extreme situations, he's able to parry the ball. South Africa really, and that's one thing I really like about these South Africans. I always keep on saying it on this show. Teams should learn their lessons. You see Mokwena, and Mokwena, I just feel bad for him because he's missed 2 penalties successively. He tried to go for the extreme direction. He didn't get it. But the other players who came, the Congolese goalkeeper always got the direction. If it was a little bit to the middle, I'm sure the hero of the day would have been the Congolese goalkeeper. For Chancellor Mbemba, you don't think Rowan Williams has done his research on where you are going to kick it? And you see, but another thing I also realized about Rowan Williams too is that they still got him on the middle thing.
Exactly.
Because he was still an early diver. He was not changing his ways. But I was thinking about this penalty shootout a lot of times. Like, if I was Rowan Williams or if I was a kicker, what would I do? Especially if you've placed it in the middle once or twice and he's been an early diver. You second guess yourself that maybe he will stay in the middle. So the best thing is just go your direction.
Sorry to interrupt. You see, Mbemba tried to play through the middle, but somehow, I don't know the technique he used. So the ball swerved a bit, and that was what allowed Williams. Because if he had gone through the middle, he would have scored.
He would have scored. And you see, the thing is, the reason I'll give Williams his plaudits are the timing of Mbemba's penalty. He was literally he literally pulled a John Terry, but we don't care. The third, fourth, please. So it wouldn't really matter. But he was the last kick out of the ball, and for him to calm his nerves and keep his team inside, it was a fascinating shootout. But to be very honest, we've been spoiled with a lot of penalty shootouts, so it didn't really move us a lot. But it was still a fascinating, and both teams have already played the penalties. Yeah. Congo against Egypt.
Yes.
So they were.
So this was the second shootout.
The second shootout for them, and I think this is also second shootout for the South African.
Third.
Nigeria
and Cape Verde.
Oh, they've been shooting their way out throughout the tournament. I see.
And then finally, it was Meshach Ilaya who missed.
It was a poor penalty.
He didn't look confident at all. He looked really tense.
I mean, if Yoram Wissa is not even taking it in the first 5, you could see that. Sudden death is you would have to play. Sudden death are mostly the people who shied away from the first kick, so you would have to play. And for someone who plays for young boys, I would have expected the likes of him and Wissa to be part of the first kickers. But I mean, spoke volumes why they were taking it in sudden death.
Well, interesting stuff. The South Africans emerging on the right side of the shootout this time. So 2 shootout wins out of 3 in the same competition, and South Africa are third